Now, if you are new to this channel, I have looked into a Meet Kevin adjacent story before, having to do with a guest he had on his podcast named Lima Yevrimovich. Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine? Well, I'm recording it on Saturday, but who knows when I will air it. So recently, actually, I think literally yesterday, I saw a video that came up on CoffeeZilla's YouTube channel. Now, as far as YouTube investigative journalists go, I think there's a few different levels, and I would obviously consider myself to be in the top tier. But there's a few people in this category with me. One of those people is CoffeeZilla. He himself independently breaks news stories. He does investigations himself. He breaks it to the public, and he has built quite a large audience. So this is his YouTube page, and as you can see, here is a thumbnail 20 hours ago at the time of recording. I don't know when I'm going to actually post this. Today is Saturday, March 18th. And as you can see, and the thing that really interested me, there's Meet Kevin in the thumbnail. So it says YouTubers get sued for $1 billion. Now we are going to watch one portion of this video because Meet Kevin actually agreed to appear in the video for an interview. Now, if you are new to this channel, I have looked into a Meet Kevin adjacent story before, having to do with a guest he had on his podcast named Lima Yevrimovich. She has other aliases: Lima Mora, Lima Takali, April Mora, Lima Takali Yevrimovich, Lima Takali Yevrimovich. So who knows what her real damn name is, but she goes by a lot of aliases. So Meet Kevin had Lima on his podcast. He interviewed her about basically homeless people concentration camps, and he didn't really push back on any of her ideas in that interview.
Can you, or rather, how can you compel people to go? Because I mean, I do think that
you
the
have
people
to force it. It has to be a choice of the state. You have to force it.
Okay.
You have to.
Since he did that interview, a bunch of stuff has come out about Lima Yevrimovich being less than honest about several very important things, including the cause of death and the drugs in the system of a woman named Amanda Rabb, who Lima had taken responsibility for her medical care. So Lima gets this woman, Amanda Rabb, in her care in the state of California, promptly relocates Amanda to another state, Las Vegas, Nevada, and within a year of being under Lima's care, within a couple months of starting this experimental virtual reality treatment program.
Oh my God! What the? Oh! Oh my God!
Amanda Rabb died.
I don't even know what kind of news this is.
She had passed away.
Well, after she died, like 6-7 months goes by, and Lima appears on a huge YouTube channel, Soft White Underbelly with Mark Leta, and she tells everybody that Amanda Rabb died from a seizure disorder. And I'm quoting her. She said the cause of death was marked as, and she's referencing papers in her hand, a seizure disorder.
And so I'm just going to read it word for word of what we got. The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
She's claiming that she has the autopsy report.
So we have the autopsy results for Amanda.
Yes, we do.
Which just came a couple days ago. Tell me what you know.
And in another video, she said that Amanda had nothing in her system but Tylenol. So I FOIA requested the autopsy results. And it turns out the cause of death was not marked as a seizure disorder. It was marked as cardiac arrhythmia.
Word for word of what we got.
There were some complicating factors, including obesity, schizophrenia, some other stuff, but nowhere to be seen was anything about a seizure.
A seizure disorder.
She was dishonest. She did not tell the truth. And I started making videos about that. Meet Kevin has not come out and said a damn word about Lima Yevrimovich.
I just want to say I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so excited to talk about homelessness in California and fixing California.
Lima was on Kevin's show right around the time, like within days of Amanda Rabb dying, and Kevin still hasn't come out and said anything about it. And so it gave me the impression that Kevin doesn't really vet or do his diligence on the things that he allows to be promoted on his platform. And it gave me the impression, just on first glance, that even when he finds out that something is not correct, even when he finds out that something isn't exactly what it seems, or maybe he shouldn't have been promoting that thing, he is not going to come out and say anything about it. And so that actually fits squarely in with the allegations that are being made against him in this CoffeeZilla video and in the lawsuit that has been filed against these influencers. Now, it may not come as a surprise to you to find out I am really not very knowledgeable about the crypto space. I think I did buy a few dollars worth of Bitcoin when it was like $3,000 a Bitcoin, but I really honestly, I spent like, it was like $200 worth. So maybe I own about a couple $1,000s worth of Bitcoin, but I don't even know how to get into my account and all that anymore. So that's about the extent of my knowledge. We do have this video. It came up 20 hours ago. And because it has this Meet Kevin component, I was a little bit interested in what went on with it. So if y'all want to watch this video and get the full story from CoffeeZilla and his analysis and all that, I mean, it already has like 2 million views almost. I would suggest that you go ahead and watch that. I will link it in the description box below. But I wanted to also show y'all, I have found the case on Pacer. And as you can see, it was filed in the Florida Southern District Court. Now, when you click on the lawsuit here, and it does look like Kevin has been sued before in Tennessee, something in 2018. I did not look. You can see it's blue still. I didn't click on it. I really don't know. If you want me to look into that, I will. But I mean, I literally have no idea what this is about. So I clicked on this one because it was filed, as you can see, on March 15th, 2023, which at the time of recording this video was 3 days ago. So you click on this, and it brings you to this list of things that you can click on any of these little links here. I click usually on docket report, and then I'll go run report. Now, it does charge you like 10 cents or something to run the report. You have to have an account, but anybody can just get an account. This is the public court record system for federal cases. All right. So Edwin Garrison is the plaintiff here. But as you will see, this is a class action lawsuit. So the plaintiffs are probably like innumerable or whatever, represented by, and he's pretty serious, it seems, about this lawsuit, because look at all of his attorneys. How many attorneys are there here? 8 attorneys. All right. And then there are a few different plaintiffs. They're all represented seemingly by those same lawyers. And then here are the defendants. All right. So first defendant is Kevin. And then there's these other like allegedly finance influencers, but frankly, I don't know anything about these people. This is not the type of content I consume. We have Graham Stephen or Stefan, Andre Jick, Jaspreet Singh, Brian Young, Jeremy Lefebvre, Tom Nash, Ben Armstrong, Erica Kohlberg, and Creators Agency. So as you can see, there are 3 filings in this case already, and they go in chronological order. The first one is the complaint. It's about 70 to 75 pages, and it has a couple attachments. One of the attachments is an exhibit from an expert who is apparently a blockchain expert, and he has some things to say backing up some of the allegations in the complaint. He explains a little bit about how crypto works and stuff like that. The second document is a clerk's notice of judge assignment. So it's a judge being assigned to the case. And then the third document, which I didn't see CoffeeZilla reporting on yet, and maybe it's because this was actually put up after he made his video, but there is an order put on by the judge that there's already a little bit of a problem with this case from a procedural standpoint. So let me see if I can, it won't let me make it bigger. Sorry, I would make this bigger if I knew how. I can't zoom in. What it says is it was filed yesterday. At the time of recording this video, it was filed yesterday. Order that on or before June 13th, 2023, plaintiffs shall perfect service upon defendants or show cause as to why this action should not be dismissed for failure to perfect service of process. Signed by the chief judge, who is Cecilia M. Altanaga, on yesterday. And then it says, see attached document for details. So I have the document pulled up here, and it says at the top, you have United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida. And I think that's where actually Bam Margera's Marchman Act or the Marchman Order went through in that September Don Caesar Hotel incident with Stephen Timmer saying that Bam was attacking someone, but he really wasn't or whatever. You have the case name here, and then you have Edwin Garrison as the lead or the named plaintiff, and you have Kevin Paffrath as the named defendant, and then the rest of them are just kind of like et al. So it seems like in this lawsuit they're taking the biggest issue with Kevin. It's not really like it's in alphabetical order. They like specifically chose Kevin for some reason. All right, it says this cause came before the court sua sponte. Sua sponte means that it didn't get appealed to this court from the state level. It came straight to the federal district court. Then the order signed by the judge says, according to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 4M, service of summons and a complaint has to be perfected upon the defendants within 90 days after the filing of the complaint. Plaintiffs filed this action on March 15th, naming several foreign defendants. Foreign means not in the state of Florida. Plaintiffs are reminded that on or before June 13th, 2023, they shall perfect service upon the defendants or show cause as to why this action should not be dismissed for failure to perfect service of process. This was done in Miami on March 17th, 2023. It was signed by the judge. So what does it mean to perfect service? This is a procedural rule, which is in layman's terms, I would call it a technicality type rule, where it doesn't really have to do with any of the merits of the case. It doesn't really have to do with any of the allegations that were alleged in the case or anything like that. It's more of a process technicality that is putting this case at risk of being dismissed before it even gets off the ground. Now, what is appropriate service of process? In a federal court, service of process has to do with being served. You know, when it's like the person shows up, whether it be the sheriff or a professional process server or somebody like that, they have to actually hand you the lawsuit in most cases. Now, of course, in the age of technology, there's lots of exceptions that are popping up here and there, but traditionally, you have to personally serve someone with a lawsuit. Because, you know, think about why that is. Because a court doesn't want somebody to like sneak in, oh, we snuck it in there. And it actually makes sense. You could probably imagine why it is that you need to personally serve a lawsuit on someone. You can imagine a universe where somebody maybe slips a lawsuit under someone's doormat and they're like, well, I put it on their doorstep. But it's like the person didn't see the lawsuit. They had no way to know. Or, you know, maybe somebody might send an email to an old email account that the person never opens. Or maybe they'll give it to someone like, oh, hey, can you give this to your brother? And then that person never gives it to the brother. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good system that there are strict rules to follow when serving someone with a lawsuit. Now, like I said, there's lots of loopholes. There's lots of exceptions. We're not going to get into those. I'm just letting y'all know that this lawsuit, according to the court as of yesterday at the time of recording this video, the technical procedural requirements for serving the lawsuit on the person of these influencers hasn't been met. But they do have 90 days to do that. If they really want to serve this, I think they'll be able to do it. Okay, so let's watch a little bit of the CoffeeZilla video, and then we'll read a little bit of the complaint, and then I guess that'll just be all I really have to say for today. My main purpose of this was to announce the lawsuit, tell y'all I found the complaint, and to say that this is yet another case where Kevin doesn't seem to be fully diligent in what he promotes on his channel before putting it out there to his 1 million or 2 subscribers. How many subscribers does this man have? Let me see. He's live right now. He has 1.8 million subscribers. So he's live right now. Let me show y'all. All right, so here is his YouTube page. He has 1.8 million subscribers. All right, so let's get into a little bit of the CoffeeZilla video and see what Kevin had to say in this interview with CoffeeZilla about whether or not he should be being held responsible for his promotion of this FTX product, which ultimately was a scam. And the person who came up with this FTX cryptocurrency and these like interest-bearing accounts or whatever the account, like I told you I don't know nothing about this crap, but there's criminal charges I think being pursued against the guy who made up the whole thing. Sam Bankman-Fried, I think is his name, something like that. If y'all want to know about that whole scandal like in detail with all that, there's a lot of videos on YouTube already. It's really not my lane, but
who promoted FTX are now being sued for over $1 billion in damages, and I want to talk about it. We're not only speaking to a lawyer, but even one of the people
There is also legal analysis in here by Legal Eagle, which I'll leave in as well.
Getting sued. Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, Minority Mindset, Brian Jung, Financial Education Jeremy, Tom Nash, and BitBoy Crypto are all defendants in this lawsuit.
Okay, so again, I'm kind of bored with all these characters. Don't really know any of them. Don't really know what they're doing. Definitely would not tell y'all to go follow them or listen to their advice based on how this went down. Yeah, okay, so let's get to the lawyer analysis.
Ultimately, this story is about people getting hurt, promoters getting paid, and now they're getting sued for it, to which I say, good. Although, not everyone believes this particular legal strategy is going to hold water. I asked Legal Eagle, a well-known lawyer on YouTube, what he thought, and he was doubtful about its chances.
And basically, the entire case rests on a part of the Florida law that the plaintiffs claim connects the endorsers to FTX. I'm very skeptical of this. The section in question extends liability to any director, officer, partner, or agent for the seller if they personally participated or aided in the making of a sale. And if you're on YouTube or if you're a celebrity endorser, you're not a director of the company, you're not an officer, you're not a partner, and you're not an agent. You're not able to act on behalf of the company. You're just
Okay, so the legal analysis depends on the definition of what a YouTube promoter is. Is the YouTube promoter an agent of the company? Is the YouTube promoter or influencer an agent? Agent is a very specific legal term of art, which means that you have at least some authority to act on the behalf of the company. I don't know anything about the case, but I'll venture to wager Meet Kevin had no authority to act on behalf of FTX as a company or the name of the company that was, administering this project. So I think that is what the Legal Eagle analysis is.
basically contracted to make a statement. For most of them, it relies on a bare allegation that they were, quote, paid to endorse FTX. And then there is a subsequent allegation where it's so wishy-washy. It says, quote, it is hard to imagine that anyone who has done business with FTX, including paid endorsers, would not have personally witnessed one or more of the deficiencies identified by Mr. Ray. He's the guy who's in charge of the receivership of FTX in bankruptcy. And all FTX endorsers have extensive business dealings beyond FTX and surely would be able to identify business practices that are unusually problematic.
Okay, so another aspect of the legal analysis in the case is that the people who are suing, they're saying, look, listen, anybody who just glanced at this FTX thing, any reasonable person who did these business dealings and was aware of how business works should have and would have been able to know that it was a scam, basically. And I don't think that holds a lot of water. You're putting a lot of expectation on influencers. And honestly, other people promoted this who are not YouTube influencers, including Tom Brady. And so it's like, every time an athlete does a product promotion, if an athlete does a Wheaties commercial and we later find out that Wheaties had a bad chemical in it, is it that athlete's fault? Or, a Gatorade promotion, and 15 years from now, we realize that Gatorade has some poison in it that's hurting people and making them have heart attacks or something. Is it the Gatorade sponsor athlete's fault? No. And in this case, it's pretty similar because we have celebrity endorsers as well as these YouTube influencers. Now, in the video we're watching, CoffeeZilla does get into a differentiation, a disanalogy. He says, this isn't just celebrity endorsers. This is people who have entire channels devoted to financial advice. And for that reason, they are kind of situating themselves as experts. They are situating themselves as people who not only have the ability, but have the time and the resources to really investigate these products. And people trust them for that. And I'll let that play through before I give my full analysis, but it probably won't come as a surprise to you that I actually kind of come out a little bit in the middle than one side or the other, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Now, as a legal matter, I don't think that really changes anything. As a factual matter, it's just completely false that a celebrity endorser or a YouTuber would have any insight into the inner workings of FTX that the public does not have. That's just not the way it works. Though at the same time, I wouldn't want to be these YouTubers either who are gonna have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to their lawyers to defend against what is quite possibly a meritless lawsuit. I don't expect this particular lawsuit to go anywhere, but I think it is going to be a pain in the sides of many of these YouTubers.
Wow. So there's the official opinion from an expert. It'll probably cost the influencers a lot of money, but he's skeptical if it will hold up for the long run. Of course, we'll see how it plays out. But the last thing I wanted to do was not just ask a lawyer what they thought, but Ask these influencers because look, whether you think this particular lawsuit is relevant, it changes nothing about the ethics of this situation. And I wanted to hear it straight from them. And most of them refused to comment for understandable reasons, but Meet Kevin decided to respond, and here's what he said. You're being sued along with several others for the promotion of FTX. Do you think you should be liable? What are your thoughts?
It's terrible. I feel so terrible for the people who lost money from FTX. I feel so just the entire YouTube finance community has really gotten hit basically with egg on the face, so to speak, because of the association with somebody who ended up being a terrible fraud, and it's miserable. And I know it's terrible because it's like, hey, well, financial influencers, how come they didn't know? We didn't have access to financials at FTX. We had hired individual representatives like agencies who do this.
Creative agent is one of the, what's it named? Creators Agency is a defendant named in this lawsuit.
This sort of stuff, and they tell us they do all the vetting for us. This is why we hire people to help us, and so we don't have a look into the systems of what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think that's the same thing that happened to people like Shaq or Matt Damon.
So Shaquille O'Neal and Matt Damon, in addition to Tom Brady, also promoted this product.
Whomever else has been caught up in this. But I think the worst case scenario out of all of this is the individuals who don't have access to their deposits.
I think the difference is between you and Tom Brady is people kind of expect you guys to know. Do you think you should be, do you think you should be giving recommendations if you can't do the proper due diligence because, as you said, you don't have access to these financials? And then B, do you think that given that you guys profited, I'm guessing somewhere in the realm of $1 million plus from these FTX things, do you think that you should give back all of that money?
Ultimately, I agree with you. I think that there needs to be there needs to be a lot more diligence in when sponsorships are made with creators.
Yeah, because you guys are dealing with finances. This isn't a NordVPN ad where if things go wrong, something happens. This is like if something goes wrong, people's entire livelihoods are at stake. And for better or for worse, you guys are seen as the experts. And so you guys are held to that expert standard. It's like if a doctor recommended a pill that doesn't work and gives you gives you cancer or something.
Okay, I was going to let this play through, but I have to stop that right there because, first of all, doctors do recommend pills that don't work and give you cancer every day. Every single day, doctors do that. So that happens. They also recommend pills in an unethical way that they have financial incentives for recommending. So, I mean, that's not a good analogy as far as I'm concerned. Second of all, I don't really like the way that CoffeeZilla framed the question because what he said was, ultimately, for better or worse, you guys are considered to be experts and people are going to trust your recommendations. That's why I have to be so obnoxious with, look down at the bar right below right now. I went to law school and I am a lawyer. And some of y'all are like, well, you gave up your license. How can you be a lawyer? I have a Juris Doctor degree, baby. I earned that fair and square. I will be a lawyer till the day I die. What I am not is a licensed attorney. So that's the difference. But let's say I come on the internet and I'm like, look, y'all, if it was me, this is how I would handle the traffic stop. And then somebody does it that way. It doesn't work out for them. And then they sue me for it. Well, there's an expert, and for better or worse, we considered her to be an expert. And so regardless of how many times she'd used disclaimers, regardless of how many times she said this is not legal advice, regardless of how many times she said you need to go do your own research, regardless of how many times she said you have to take your own risk in your own jurisdiction, it's her fault because she was on the internet as an expert. And for that reason, everything that she ever said that I acted upon is her fault. I just disagree. I think it kind of encourages and promotes this weird, like only certain people are allowed to say certain things on the internet censorship culture that's going on. And I don't like that. I think probably what it comes down to is individual defendants and what they said. For example, if one of these influencers said, run out of your house right now, spend every dollar in your bank account and put it all into this FTX thing, it's going to the moon and you're going to be a billionaire. That person is in a lot different of a situation as a defendant than someone who said, look, listen, I'm not putting my money into this. It seems legit, though, based on the information I have, disclosing this is a sponsored sponsorship right now. I have received a financial benefit to tell y'all about this. I think with that amount of disclosures, that is a different defendant than the person in the first instance that like encouraged everyone to run out and go spend all their money. And I think that CoffeeZilla does have the appropriate level of intelligence to understand that the nuance is there. I'll tell y'all just based on what I'm hearing from this so far, as an influencer, as somebody who does have a terminal advanced degree on YouTube, who uses that degree to analyze and assess and research cases, it does make me a little bit more afraid. And to me, this lawsuit makes me feel even more censored, to be honest, because I don't know what these influencers said. Maybe it's a great lawsuit, but according to the Legal Eagle analysis so far, it doesn't even really seem like the lawsuit's going to go forward. Top of the fact that the lawyers haven't even bothered to perfect service upon all of the defendants. It seems to me like, on the one hand, yes, I don't think you should promote products that you haven't researched or you don't use yourself or whatever. That's an ethical question. That is not a legal question, in my opinion. I do believe that at some point, people have to take a little bit of personal responsibility for what they put their money into. And again, just to be abundantly clear, if a person is on YouTube saying, I am an expert, I am telling you to rush to the website or the coin bank or the whatever, buy as much of this as you can right now. That's different. That could be a legal issue because that person is telling you to do something in reliance on what they said. If the person knows that it's a scam and they're still promoting it, that's a legal issue. If the person is the one who created the scam and they're promoting it, like the Logan Paul Zootopia or whatever thing with the zoo coins and all that, that's different. But taking a sponsorship, paying your own money to an agency for them to vet the product, getting an analysis back from them saying this product looks good. Not only were you fooled, several celebrities, including Shaquille O'Neal and Tom Brady, household names, promoted this product and they're not named in the lawsuit. It just seems like it might be a little bit of a agenda push to silence people on YouTube who are giving advice to certain things. I see both sides of it as usual. And unfortunately, that's just where I sit right now with the limited information that I do have. Now, as far as what Kevin has said in this interview so far, even though I do think that he has a propensity to promote products on his channel that he doesn't really put a lot of diligence into, I didn't see him at any point saying rush out of your house and spend all your money on this. If I had to guess, he probably did give disclaimers and things like that, which he does get to that upcoming in the interview. So let's see what else he has to say.
Suppose it's also relevant to what people individually say, right? Because individually, I've always said, look, crypto is extremely speculative and that it should represent a tiny portion of your portfolio, if anything at all. On top of that, it's also incumbent upon the individual to take some responsibility that we know not your keys, not your crypto. That's been made abundantly clear. Even with these bank failures, I believe that ultimately depositors deserve some form of a haircut because ultimately they choose. Now, if I say, hey, go to Silicon Valley Bank and get a loan, and you're like, yeah, I get a loan here, I get all these benefits, ultimately you take that risk. So it is incumbent upon the individual to take responsibility as well. Yes, a doctor can refer you, hey, maybe this medicine will work.
But the individuals aren't the experts. That's the whole problem, is they rely on experts to help them make this decision. They don't have the luxury.
But the influencers relied on experts too. And the influencer who did pay money and who did get these analyses run, and they did pay people like Creators Agency to run these analyses. I mean, I'm not saying that I completely disagree with the CoffeeZilla stance, but I am saying that I can see the push and the pull from each side of this, particularly considering all of these creators are being put in the same exact category when I know that this is going to come down to a very, very fact-specific analysis on what these creators did say and what these influencers did say. Some of them probably did rely on higher up than them experts to run these reports and these analyses. Some of them probably didn't. They probably just took the money and said, look, go buy the FTX. That's different. Those are different cases. And so from an ethical standpoint, this is a great conversation to be having, the one that CoffeeZilla is bringing up. from a legal standpoint, I don't think that it's completely fair to hold someone accountable for something when they did exactly the same thing that the people that CoffeeZilla is concerned about did, which was relying on an expert. If they relied on an expert's analysis themselves to promote the product, like, because I'm in this situation. I don't take sponsorships on this channel, but I do take sponsorships on BJ Investigates. And I'm telling y'all, I get dozens and dozens and dozens of offers for sponsorships, and I've only so far taken 2. Those products I use. VPN is on right now on my computer. Am I a VPN expert? No. Could the product possibly be not doing what it says it's doing? I mean, I don't think so. And if I thought that, I would never, ever promote it to y'all. But 5 years from now, if it comes out that somebody lied to me or did, how am I going to know that? I don't know that. And so I guess from a little bit of a personal perspective, it does make me a little bit nervous where it's like, so we can't promote anything, even if we do our very best to due diligence and say this is a sponsorship. I have been paid a small amount of money. I've not been paid anywhere near what Kevin says he made, but I was paid a very small amount of money, not only to tell y'all about the product, but also I use the product. It's turned on right now. VPN is on my screen right now. It's on as we speak. And so it's like, but you're the expert and you said you use it. And so you deserve to be sued for $1 billion? No, Coffee. It's just not going to be able to work like that. I mean, that's the personal bias. I'm telling y'all my personal bias.
Of spending all day looking at finance and stuff like this. So they rely on people to make their decisions for better or worse. And then when things go wrong, ultimately people are going to look to the experts in the room and say, hey, what happened? And if the answer is, well, we just didn't do enough due diligence, sorry, that's kind of a problem. So I think that's where their questions about like giving back all the money come from.
But that's also a little bit of a mischaracterization of what happened. The only way that the influencers would have been able to know exactly what was going on with this company is if they had asked them for their business records and financial statements, which are undoubtedly confidential. You're not going to give over your business records to every like if I went to Green Chef and HelloFresh and said, hey, before I take this sponsorship, would you mind handing over all your private business data, your financial records, your financial data to me so I can make sure that the company is solvent before I promote it? They're not going to do that. They're not going to give that to you. But I actually believe that specifically because it's an organic product is a cool product. I actually have friends who really use it before I ever was sponsored by them. I now have used it and I really liked it. The food was good. It's organic. Let's say 5 years from now, I find out, oh, they lied. It wasn't organic. How would I know that? I'm supposed to send it to a lab or else get sued for $1 billion. Is putting a lot of pressure on one individual influencer and putting no pressure on the company to be telling you the truth. And so I think that it is embarrassing. I don't think any of these guys who promoted FTX wanted this to be what happened. And I don't think that they anticipated that it could happen. And that is the legal question. Did they anticipate it could happen? And did they direct the business activity such that it did happen? The answer to both of those is undoubtedly no, in my opinion. And so I get it. I get it from the consumer perspective. You want to trust these influencers, especially whenever they are saying that they're financial experts. But for me, it has got to come down to a little bit more of a nuanced analysis than you promoted a product, you were wrong, and now you're getting sued for $1 billion. Like, it can absolutely not be that cut and dry. It just can't.
Have you spoken to anybody about just giving back the money to the people affected?
So that's a different question. Should Kevin give the money back from an ethical perspective? That's a different question. I think I can see an argument for, yeah, he should give it back because he made money off of promoting a product that ultimately was, according to, people and lawsuits, a scam. That's a different question. So let's see what Kevin has to say.
Once all the cards are settled, or all the dust is settled, so to speak, and everybody gets whatever money is left back, whatever deposits are left, I'm a big fan of contributing to some sort of recovery fund when it's all over, not because I feel responsible. I do not feel responsible, but because I feel sorry for people who, quite frankly, lost money because they either didn't listen to the advice of not your keys, not your crypto, or they put too much of their own portfolio on. If I go onto a gambling website because somebody says, hey, go gamble here, you'll make a lot of money, and I lose money, that's on me. I put $420,000 into BlockFi. I lost every dime of that because the company went bankrupt. Now, did I blame Anthony Pompliano for making the recommendation or suggesting, hey, you could invest with my fund into BlockFi? Absolutely not, because I'm a big boy and I take personal responsibility. And I'm happy to work with this, some form of like basically a charity. Let's be clear, that's what it is. It's not taking responsibility.
I think I don't know, this is just speculation, my conspiracy theory, but I think that the reason that Kevin is making this differentiation here of I don't take responsibility, but I do feel bad for the people that lost money. I would be willing to donate to like a charity fund. I think the reason that he's making that differentiation is precisely because of the legal action. If he's like, yeah, I would donate to a restoration fund to make these victims whole and stuff, it's kind of like admitting what he's being accused of in the lawsuit. So I do think it's not very wise of him to do that. I think it's pretty decent of him to say that he is willing to donate money, which again is more of an ethical concern and consideration than a legal one.
Ultimately, I don't think any influencer has to take responsibility for what somebody does with product advice. That should only...
I think I agree, but there is nuance. Like that Logan Paul situation, that crypto zoo, that was his company. He owned it. He created it. He conceptualized it. He wasn't like a celebrity on the Wheaties box. It was his company. And so it's a very different analysis, in my opinion, what Logan Paul did or what Sam Bankman-Fried or whatever his name is did versus I'm going to take money to tell people about a product. And I'm also going to tell people that I made the money. Now, if just for the record, if any of these influencers did not disclose that they were being sponsored or paid to promote this product, that is a legal issue that falls under the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission's guidelines of proper disclosure. Whenever you are sponsored, whenever you are paid to promote something or paid to mention it on your channel or on your account, you got to tell people that somebody paid you for that you were compensated. That is very cut and dry. There's no question about that. So if that's what this lawsuit is about, that's different, but it's not. This lawsuit is basically alleging that these influencers knew or should have known that it was a scam. They promoted the product anyway, and they had authority to act on behalf of the business to make business type decisions. And those things just aren't true.
That responsibility should only arise if somebody actually hires somebody, like retaining an attorney,
Right.
hiring a doctor for their own.
And that's why we always say this is not legal advice. If we're sitting down in a consultation and I'm giving you legal advice and I give you the wrong advice, you better sue me. But if I'm just pontificating on YouTube based on, things I know about things, if we are going to be able to hold doctors, lawyers, therapists, these professionals on YouTube accountable to the extent that you can get sued for $1 billion or sued for $1 at all, despite consistent disclaimers that you should not take anything they're saying as advice, then we're not going to be able to share our knowledge on YouTube at all anymore. We're going to be censored. And the only way that y'all are going to be able to get your information is going to be from people like people who are government approved. And that is the slippery slope that I see in this lawsuit. When I started making this video, I really wanted to drag Kevin, throw him under the bus because he aggravates me with that whole Lima thing. But I do not like the slippery slope that this is going down. If you're going to be accused of being an expert, every time you pontificate on something you have education in, and you can be sued over it, it is going to drive experts off of the internet. It is going to take away a bunch of different voices saying a bunch of different variety and diversity of opinion and ideas, such that we're going to become even more of a hive mind, even more of a one thought, and only that thought is allowed, Big Brother Orwellian 1984 society. And I hate to imagine that that's where we're going. Lawsuits like this are scary. Fake, frivolous defamation lawsuits like the one filed against me by Lima Yevremovich that I've already racked up over $100,000 in legal bills defending myself. It's a reason that people are scared to use their expertise. It's a reason people are scared to even tell the truth. I don't like the landscape that is being sort of propped up by lawsuits like this. And I kind of do hope it gets dismissed. If they want to sue individual creators and influencers for something actually legally wrong, I am in full support of that. But the slippery slope of you spend a lot of time researching something, even though you disclaim, take your own risk, make your own decision, you shouldn't spend a lot of money, even all those disclaimers, it doesn't matter. Because you spend a lot of time researching something and because you talk about it on the internet, you are necessarily liable for anybody's stupid action that might arise off of or in reliance upon that, even though you told them not to rely on it. It's just in absolutely no way at all whatsoever is that an acceptable or appropriate direction that we should be going.
Personal situation or hiring a personal financial advisor. Otherwise, from there, it's a lesson to the whole community. We've got to be more careful with sponsors, and the viewers have to be, diligent about their own decisions.
Well, there you go, guys. Those are the thoughts of Meet Kevin, and I want to thank him for coming on.
Okay. So I'm already 47 minutes into this recording. I actually don't think it's a good use of my time at this point to read through the complaint because it's going to make this video 2 hours long. If y'all really want me to dive into the complaint and the allegations in the complaint, leave a comment below and I will make a second video. I really did kind of just want to look into this Meet Kevin aspect of things. Surprisingly, I ended up agreeing more with Meet Kevin than CoffeeZilla, which is literally never something that I anticipated. But I got to be honest, full disclosure, I am in a little bit of a different situation. I have a little bit of a personal interest in the outcome of this case and in these types of cases because, like I mentioned, I am a professional with a professional degree. And so I don't want to live in a world where I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to encourage and educate people using the resources, the education that I had to pay a lot of money and work very hard to receive. And then for that education to later be used against me in a $1 billion lawsuit, whenever all I was ever doing was trying to help we the people access this gate-kept type of information, and then they went and stupidly relied on something that I said, despite it literally saying in all caps throughout every single one of my videos, this is not legal advice. I can't back up that should be the world that we are going to be heading into. If that's the world we're heading into, we're going to have one source of information. It's going to be Big Brother. And as we have seen clear as day, repeatedly, multiple times over and over, they are not always right either. And they lie to our face on purpose a lot of the times. This ain't no accidental, oops, I didn't do enough diligence. They lie to our face. So if y'all want to live in a world where you only get your information from one source, one approved, Big Brother approved source, and that source can be and is allowed to lie to your face and never ever tell you the truth about it, then support lawsuits like this, I guess. But that's my own personal conspiracy theory opinion. That's where I stand on it. I still stand CoffeeZilla. I love him. I think he is doing amazing work. We can have different opinions and still respect each other. I still am a little bit suspicious of Kevin on the whole. I'm not a Kevin stan, but that's my opinion. That's just how I feel on things. And as usual, I don't really fall on either one side or the other to it. I see both sides in some ways and don't see each one in other ways and all that. But this video is already way longer than I wanted it to be. So that's all I had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.